So we are still looking at our research stages and research methods. We are still moving on. So today we are going to look into the mixed methods, the approaches to research. So we are going to look into what they call triangulation as the method. So after triangulation, we are supposed to look into the what they call methodological. They call it methodological pluralism. Right, those are the methods that we are supposed to look into. So many research projects involve more than one method. What am I saying? There might be a project here. So you can't use one method to unravel it, right? You might use a combination of methods, a combination of ways to unravel it. Just like how we teach sometimes, we might come here and present like I'm doing, simplifying methods like I'm doing, right? Yes, at one moment, I might give you an assignment. It's still a method of teaching, right? So this can include combining methods that produce quantitative and qualitative data. The mixed method approach, when you talk of the mixed methods approach, it's like we are using a combination of methods to get the data. You are not using qualitative only, you use a combination of both so that you can get the data. So researchers often use methodological pluralism because the word pluralism means from the word plural, and plural means more than one reason. Which means we are going to use a couple of methods to unravel the what? The data, right? So questionnaires may produce reliable data, but this data is low validity. While the reverse may be true for covert participation observation, rather than approaching research methodology from a perspective of a design problem, how to test a hypothesis, that's positivism, or answer a research question, interpretivism, we can approach it from a methodological perspective. This involves considering how to collect data of the highest possible levels of reliability and validity, regardless of the methods or data types used. So that's why you find out the topics that we're doing all along, they also had sections in which they could give strengths and weaknesses, advantages and disadvantages. Why were you doing that? We're doing that so that we can apply what we call a multidisciplinary approach, that when this source or when this method would give us a weakness, that weakness would be covered up by what? For example, if we would say, what does overt participation entail?
It is participation that is done openly.
That is done openly, right? And it has its advantages, right? Yes, you get inside information. But at the same time, it is disadvantageous in the sense that it can be intrusive. And sometimes the information that you'll be getting will be too intrusive. Right? So this means that you have to use covert, whereby people who know what you are looking into. Right. So let us start with triangulation. Pay attention. So if methodological pluralism represents the theoretical argument of using mixed methods, triangulation is the means through which this theory is put into practice. It refers to the various ways in which a researcher can attempt to improve research reliability and validity. So when you talk of triangulation, it simply entails about many ways. Like I said, a researcher can come through and use a certain way, but that way might not work. So what can they do? What they can simply do is like come up with several ways so that they can get the information. Right. So methodological triangulation involves the use of two or more research methods. Denton in 1970 suggests that this allows the researcher to offset the weaknesses of one method with the strength of another. For example, a general weakness of questionnaires is that the researcher must assume that a respondent is telling the what? The truth. Yes. That's the thing. The questions might be sent online. So the response that you get, you will just assume that they are correct. But they might not be correct. Because sometimes answering depends on the person's mood. I might give you a certain answer this week because I'm happy. I might give you a different answer next week because I'm sad. So a researcher could offset this by using an observational method, such as participant observation, to check that respondents actually do what they say they do, what is being said. If I would use a question here, when dealing with the question here, I might not be around. I'll just post the question or send the questions online. So I will never know the veracity or the truth or the correct answers. Yes, the person might ask in a way they like. But if I would use participant observation, I can tell by the person's movement of hands, I can tell by the person's countenance how they are expressing themselves facially on their face. You do know that you can the person's action, body language, yes, can tell you whether they are lying or they are not lying. But there are some people who lie with a straight face. Do you know that? Yes. There are some people who lie. Are you serious? Something like that. But I'm trying to give the advantage of participant observation. That if you're on the ground and you're asking the question, you can easily tell. Because you're having a face-to-face conversation. You can easily tell whether this person is lying or not due to their body language, due to how they are responding, due to the inconsistency of their responses. But sometimes liars forget that they lie. Do you know that? Yes. They might tell you A, B, next time they will tell you X, Z. Then you would ask, last time you said this, So with participant observation, you are on the ground. You can ask. You can easily see that this person is lying or telling the truth. But the question is, its weakness is you cannot tell the mood. You cannot even verify the veracity of their answers, whether or not they are true. That's the point that is being made here. So alternatively, the researcher could compare the results from different methods used on the same people, such as semi-structured interview and a focus group. So if the conclusions drawn are broadly the same, this helps confirm the reliability and validity of the data. So methodological triangulation can involve any combination of two or more researchers using the same research techniques, one researcher using two or more research techniques, two or more researchers using two or more research techniques. So researcher triangulation can be used in studies that rely heavily on a researcher's interpretations to generate data. Like the researcher is a way of how he's understanding things. So we have to understanding things. You have to respect that. And if different researchers use the same research methods, they should arrive at the same results. And this can confirm the reliability of the data. For us to say, when we talk of the reliability of the data, it must be reliable to an extent that if I do a research on a certain issue, then you do it yourself, then Ryan does it, you must get the same results, right? So this can confirm the reliability of data. So alternatively, using researchers from different ethnic, age, gender, and class groups can help check for factors such as observer and interviewer bias that may lower reliability and validity. So sometimes the information might be different because the researchers might come from a certain ethnic group. They might be from a different age. What am I saying? Let's say we take a female researcher. They can research in a way they like. You can take a male researcher. They can, depending on the topic. What am I saying? Let's say the topic might be about maids and how they work in homes. Right? A female researcher might maybe take a very sympathetic approach. Might ask sympathetic questions. They'll be understanding. They'll be empathizing because it's a woman to woman too. Maid is female. The researcher is female. Yes. So a male might be a bit direct, to an extent that if some women would watch that, they'll say you're abusing the woman with your question, something like that. So that can also affect the validity of the information. So data triangulation involves gathering information through different sampling strategies, such as collecting data at different times, in different contexts, and from different people. So this can be extended to include gathering data from both the individuals involved in a particular situation and the researcher's own experiences in that situation. And Venkatesh, for example, was able to make sense of certain forms of behavior, such as drug dealing and experiences such as being black and poor, in ways that would not have been possible if he had not been intimately involved in the world he was studying. I think we did about Venkatesh. He studied that gang in America, right? Yes. He had to gain access into the life of the gangs, how they organize the crimes, the crime sprees, what they eat, how they run their families, how the gang is run, how they recruit new gang members. So he didn't use questionnaires. Participant observation, he was on the ground and he got the first-hand information, So he gathered data from those involved and from his own experience of living in their what? In their world, yes. Thank you. Right. So to illustrate these ideas as we continue, we can point to a variety of sociological research that has used methodological triangulation to good effect. Baker in 1984 used overt participant observation, questionnaires, and semi-structured interviews in a research on the unification change, the Moonies. And there's Hay in 1997. He studied girls' friendships in 2 London schools using a combination of participant observation and personal documentation. Some of the girls allowed her to read their diaries, and she was also given access to the notes the girls passed between themselves in the classroom. He wanted to know the relationship. That was in 1997. At that time, we didn't have much technology. So people could write to each other, and people could diarize their experiences with friends. So he wanted to explore friendships in London, right? So he got into the intimate details of those friendship episodes. He read about their mails, he read into their diaries, something like that. So methodological pluralism and triangulation are therefore frequently employed by sociologists because they improve reliability and validity. You are not relying on one method, you are using a combination of methods. Why? Because if this method is a weakness, it can be covered up by the strength of another method. So using different methods and sampling strategies, a researcher can generally improve overall reliability of a research approach and the validity of data collected. And more specifically, data collected using higher reliability methods such as questionnaires can offset the weaknesses in observational methods. The reverse applies to validity. So since it's the two, triangulation and methodical pluralism is like two sides of the same coin, right? Arguments in favor of methodological pluralism and triangulation are convincing, yes, we can't deny that. They are convincing and practical, but they also have their fair share of weaknesses, yes? Like the time needed to analyze different data types created from a number of different methods. It's so time consuming. You're using various methods. But sometimes when you use one method, it might take you the shortest time possible. But when you are using many methods, you have to coordinate or combine all the methods. And the need to employ more researchers. Because let's say you are a specialist, you must get, it should be specialization too. Yes. Because let's say you are a specialist in triangulation. That's how even the police work at the police station. They know that officer is specialist in road traffic rules, I don't know. They specialist in deals with the crime, various crimes, rape and stuff. Specialist in deals with the people and stuff. So the police work as a team. Yes. There is no one police officer who can do everything. No. They know specialists, yes. Yes, they work like that. Yes. Of course, police can be on the roadblock at times and stuff, but if you go to the roadblock, you can hear that officer is a specialist in doing this, So that's what I'm saying. So when there's sociological researchers, one might be a star in triangulation, one might be a champion in methodological pluralism, or one might be a star in questionnaires. or one might be a star in what? In overt or covert. So this means that if you want to research something, let's say you are a specialist in covert participation, you also have to employ someone. You have to pay that person to fulfill triangulation or methodological pluralism. You are combining methods, so you cannot do everything on your own. This means money is also needed. So to generate coordination of a much larger research project. So in addition, collecting and comparing different types of data can be complicated. Such data may not always be easily and neatly compared, you get the sense. It's not easy, whereby you get voluminous or large amounts of data, right? Yes, it might take some time, and sometimes when the thing is so large, you cannot really get the correct stuff. So where a researcher gets contradicting data from two different sources, it can be difficult to distinguish true from false. And if the researcher receives the two opposing accounts of the same thing, which account is true? Yes. And more importantly, how can the researcher tell? Yes, something like that. Those are the questions that you have to ask yourself. So that's it for today. We are introducing biblical studies 2. May I please have the syllabus? I will stop a bit.